jump right into it. In lieu of around the room introductions, I'll just ask everybody to, if you want to introduce yourself, just throw your contact information into the chat box. But just a real quick overview of the agenda. We have Mayor Weiss and Councilmember Keim that are going to give us an overview of the importance of Proposition 20, and then Dr. Vitale is going to give us an Oceanside Unified School District update, and then Jody from Boys and Girls Club will give us an update on her organization, and then we have our legislative reports. So we're going to start off with an overview of the importance of Proposition 20. I invited our Mayor Peter Weiss and Councilmember Ryan Keim to share on this issue this morning, and it is something very important for our Oceanside community. I do want to put in a shameless plug to let you know that Councilmember Keim and Mayor Weiss have both received the Chamber's endorsements for Districts 3 and District 4 council seats respectively. So I'm going to, in the chat box, I am going to put some information about the Chamber PAC. And if you are interested in supporting their campaigns, which we encourage you to do, there will be a link there for you to do that. But with that, I'm going to turn it right over to Ryan and Peter to start sharing about Proposition 20.
I'll start really quick. I'm going to make mine brief. I could talk about this for a couple hours. So I want to focus on aspects of Prop 20 that'll be more important to the Chamber, and that's mostly around the theft and property crime issue. So before this, I was a police officer, and so I started in the beginning of '06. So I watched how we got crime levels to historic lows, and then with AB 109 in 2011, and then 2014, I think, was Prop 47. So you kind of watched the transformation as our officers lost a lot of ability to address some of these quality of life issues, and it's kind of gotten us to where we are today. So so again, I'm just gonna try to focus on the property crime and what that does to some of our small businesses, because it has a huge impact on our Targets and Walmarts and those, but our small businesses are they're not in as good of a position to absorb the kind of losses that they're seeing right now. So Prop 47, what it did was drop the felony from $400, any kind of theft from $400 and up prior to this was a felony. Now it's $950. And in addition to that, we had something called petty theft with a prior, which is you would go in any kind of petty theft. If you're arrested for doing the same thing again, it was a wobbler, you could be arrested for a felony. So it was a useful tool to prevent some of this stuff. But now, losing those options, we have these organized retail crime groups that go into a store, whether it's a Walmart, Target, a Surf Ride, steal $950 and then walk out, and the most that's going to happen is they're going to get a ticket. And then they're going to do the same thing again the next day, and the most that's going to happen is they're going to get a ticket. So we've seen this. I looked at our SANDAG reports. I saw one concerning number from last year I looked up a few months ago, and then we got a mid-year update. I saw another one. So halfway through this year, residential burglaries were down 19%, but non-residential burglaries were up 9%. And what that means is a burglary, shoplifting is oftentimes a burglary. If you go inside a store with the intent to commit theft, it turns into a burglary. And so when you're seeing this 8% increase, or this 9% increase, people are choosing, which on one hand is a good thing, that there's less risk to go into a store and take almost $1,000 worth of property on a daily basis than break into a home. And right now we just have no way to deter that. And there just really is no consequences. So the part of Prop 20 with the organized retail crime kind of puts some teeth back in that and gives us a way to handle these, these groups that can really just fleece these businesses. And this is the stat that really concerns me is, so last year, the property stolen value in San Diego went up 8%. So, and that I would imagine probably 90 to 95% of that is from retail theft and shoplifting, which turns into burglaries. But put that in the bottom line of a small business where now you're absorbing 8% more loss on your thefts. And huge for some of our small businesses. So if we can start to address that, it'll make a big difference. I just, you know, Prop 47 and 57 were, I think they're implemented with good intentions, but the unintended consequences were, I don't think they were thought out, and this will start to address part of it. And it's not just the theft and property crime. There's other parts of this that are important with classifying some crimes as violent. But I think as, you know, as far as we're going in the business community, this will be huge, and hopefully it will give us a chance to work and find out, you know, some of these really organized retail theft groups and try to put an end to it, because it's turning into a disaster. And I really think the other part that's concerning is these numbers, I think, are not accurate, because a lot of these stores aren't reporting anymore because they realize that it's not worth trying to detain a suspect, call the police and have them get a ticket, you know, potentially risk a fight with that suspect, risk litigation. So they're just letting them walk out and continue with their business, especially with COVID and other challenges we have right now. So I think we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg on this. And I hope Prop 20 begins to address it. But again, this is only the beginning. We need to do a lot more to try to undo some of these actions that were taken and hopefully give our businesses a break. So thanks for having me on today to talk about it. I'm pretty passionate about this. I had a couple violent encounters with gang members who were released early on AB 109. You know, they were classified as nonviolent because their second arrest, you know, after their violent arrest was drug possession. So they were released. And, you know, I had one who fought with my partner and I. He tried to take my partner's gun, and we both got hurt pretty bad. He did 18 months, and the week he got out, he carjacked somebody. So we have to really think about some of these unintended consequences. And, you know, we do, I mean, and it's an admirable goal is to lower our incarceration rate, but you have to do that with mental health treatment, substance abuse. You can't just lower that without the supporting services, because you're not going to have a good result. So with that, I'll pass it over to Mayor Weiss.
Thank you, Ryan, and good morning, Scott, and everyone else. And just to kind of tag on to where Ryan left it off, where you have to, you know, treat the underlying issue as well, and it's the mental health and the drug and alcohol issues that also need to be looked at, because as some of these people get out, what we're finding is they're on the street, they become homeless. And it's not just the burglaries and thefts. They do that in order to continue their drug and addiction issues. And so we're seeing an increase in our homeless population as well as the burglaries and thefts. And part of that is a direct result of people no longer being incarcerated. And not that jail is the right place for them or prison, but if we can get them in and keep them there for some period of time where they can at least begin the process of treatment and then have a support system when they come out, so we can get them transitioned into a treatment center, into short-term housing, and then long-term, you know, they become sustainable citizens again. That's going to get people off the streets as well. And for our downtown and our tourism industry and our small businesses, we need to focus on what we can do to at least present a better image of Oceanside, because right now, with everything we're going through and the lack of being able to try to get people off the street and try to address the homelessness, the downtown homeless population is a huge problem. You can't walk to the pier from City Hall anymore without going past a number of them who, honestly, you look at them and it's like, what are you doing out here? And we've got to find a way to get them help. And in many cases, it's getting them arrested, keeping them in jail or prison for some period of time, so we can at least transition them as they come out into working citizens again. You know, for those that decide they want it. Granted, not everyone's going to want that, but we've got to do a better job with our mental health, with our addiction programs. And I think Prop 20 at least is a start to that. It gets us the ability to take some of the people off the street, particularly the criminal element that most affect our day-to-day lives, and get them treatment, and then work on a program to come back out. I mean, we are now going to be getting a sobering center in Oceanside. We've got a crisis stabilization unit. We need more, though, to address these bigger issues and problems. And it's a direct impact, not just to the city, but to all of our businesses. As Ryan mentioned, you know, how many small businesses can take an 8% hit? That's a big number when you look at what the profit margins are right now and the struggle through COVID. So anything we can do to help that, I think is going to help everyone. And I think Prop 20 is a start. It is not a fix-all, but I think when Props 47 and 57 were approved, as Ryan mentioned, I think there were a number of unintended consequences that people don't realize. And redefining what violent crime is a significant issue. And I think it gives us, and it gives the police more tools in the toolbox to take a systematic approach to trying to resolve some of these issues. So again, it's not going to be a fix-all, but I think it does take a step in the right direction. And we need every tool we can. The police need every tool they can, at least to push some of these issues into the social service side of things, so we can at least begin addressing the underlying problem, not necessarily the symptom. So I know, Scott, you said that there were going to be some potential questions. So with that, I'll kind of wrap it up and see what kind of questions anyone has.
Yeah, it's obviously this has been a big issue for our business community, and a lot of times it's defined as a homeless problem, but it's much deeper than that. So anybody that have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. But one question right here is just based on the interaction that you've had, both of you within your networks, what do you think the prospects are of Prop 20 passing?
Go ahead, Peter.
Well, I would say it's a mixed bag. It's very interesting when you start trying to present some information on Prop 20 and what is considered nonviolent. People think you're crazy. When you define that that the rape of an unconscious woman is nonviolent, people think that's not true. And you start showing some of the information, and they go, "Oh my gosh, I don't remember ever voting on that." And I think therein is the issue. That when some of these propositions get worded, you look at the title and read the summary and go, "Oh, we're just being compassionate. We're just going to release, somebody who stole money, they should get out." Well, no, that's not the case. And so I think it's a mixed bag. And I think part of it is, with the magazine that just came out from the chamber that highlights Prop 20 as well as some of the other propositions, I think just the education campaign needs to start, and not an overreaction, but a simple education campaign. And here's what this means, and here's what this can do for you. And I think at least I'm seeing some of that. So hopefully as people get informed, it will push the numbers up so that it will pass.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm hearing the same. I'm pretty optimistic from what I hear, and this is all over the political spectrum. I think we've identified that Prop 47, 57 had some serious flaws, and hopefully this will start working on them. In my time, my whole career, as an officer, I don't know anybody that went to jail for the first time of possession of drugs, but after a couple arrests, what it would do is we could mandate drug court or some kind of program so you can get them on the right path. Right now, you have an option. You can go to programs, or you can take a ticket and continue walking down the street and doing what you're doing before that, and it just doesn't give you that push that many of these people need to get help. And it really, we lost a really valuable tool to try to change people's lives, and now they're stuck in this cycle. And it's I don't think it's compassionate for anyone. It's just it's a challenge.
Yes, thank you. And Mayor Weiss, thank you for mentioning the Chamber's article. It was in our newsletter. Hannah, could you put a link in the chat box to the article or to the whole issue magazine? And actually, Crystal from the County Supervisor Dasmond's office did make a note in the chat box that the County Board of Supervisors voted to support Prop 20. So thank you for that. So any final questions or comments, Mayor Weiss or Councilmember Keim?
I have a question for Crystal. Was it a unanimous vote? She doesn't have to answer.
It was not. It was a 4-to-1 vote.
I was wondering that too.
It was 4-to-1, so it passed.
Okay.
And just to chime in to kind of echo on what Mayor Weiss was saying, everyone remembers John Gardner, who murdered Chelsea King and Amber Dubois. When he was released prior to those crimes, he was a nonviolent offender. Just an example.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You know, again, this is a very important issue for our community. So thank you, Mayor Weiss and Councilmember Keim for your input on this. And like I mentioned, we'll have our chamber article in the chat box momentarily. So with that, we're going to move on to our next topic, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Vitale from the Oceanside Unified School District. She's the superintendent, and she's going to provide us an update on the upcoming OUSD school bond measure and inform us on school reopening plans. So with that, Dr. Vitale, the floor is yours.
Great. Scott, do you want to start with the video?
Absolutely. Just give me a
That'd be great.
second for my screen share here.
Thank you. Career ready. Be prepared to be responsible global citizens and ambitious future leaders. It is critical that we provide spaces and equip neighborhood schools with modern, up-to-date classrooms and instructional technology that will better prepare students for success in college and careers. Together, we have accomplished some amazing things, and we have award-winning facilities and learning environments that inspire, enrich, and build the bonds of our community. But there is still work to be done. While we have been able to modernize most of our facilities, not all of our campuses reflect the priority of equity that the Board of Education values. Facilities that have not been modernized in decades need our help to meet the needs of our scholars of tomorrow. Aging technology that needs to be replaced so our students can be prepared in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. Playgrounds that lack the necessary equipment for our kids to explore and refresh. Fields where our student athletes practice and build their sense of team and community need to be improved. Together, we can repair or replace deteriorating roofs, plumbing, electrical, heating, and cooling systems, upgrade student support facilities and instructional equipment, and address safety upgrades to meet current earthquake, fire, and health and safety standards. Your support of Measure W will make a monumental difference for the kids of today and the generations of tomorrow. Thank you,
Dr.
Scott.
Vitale, do you want me to go right into the slides?
Yeah, that would be great. And we'll go through those. I won't belabor them. I think that the video does a nice job of sort of demonstrating what the issues are as far as facilities go. And people, well, I'll just talk until you display those, Scott.
Can you see them now?
I cannot.
All right. Well, okay.
And that's
Let me try that again.
Okay.
How about now?
Yes, totally. So the measure is Measure W, and you can go to the next slide, Scott. I will be mindful of the time. I have my timer going. So as the video stated, it will be focused on upgrading our classrooms for science, technology, engineering, and math. And people may or may not be aware that we are at the end of our previous bond measure. You can go to the next slide, Scott. And the board just recently made a decision to upgrade and renovate two of our oldest campuses, San Luis Rey Elementary School and also Jefferson Middle School. And San Luis Rey is in the pipeline right now, and the beginning stages of Jefferson. Those are our two oldest schools that haven't been modernized. They were built in the 50s. So with the successful passing of W, we will now be able to move to schools that were built in the 80s. And yes, that was 40 years ago. And you might not think that is very long, but some of the pictures that we showed you were from schools that were built 40 years ago. Those of you that are familiar with our schools, that would be like Reynolds Elementary, McAuliffe Elementary. MLK was in the 90s and Ivy was in the 90s, but so much has happened in 30 and 40 years, and we need to make sure that our classrooms can meet 21st century needs. Go ahead and go on to the next slide, Scott. So we did do a poll. We did that in June. So that was at the beginning of the COVID situation. We had a sample size of 488, and we tested pretty well on the ballot. We need 55% to pass, and it tested at 62%. So that basically says to us that we need to run a campaign. Go ahead and go on to the next slide, Scott. And the Board of Education realizes that this is, you know, a challenging situation and a challenging time, but we don't receive any other funding from the state to repair and upgrade our facilities. This is our opportunity to do so. And they understand that, yes, this is a challenging situation. And, you know, when they made this decision a couple of months ago, we didn't know that we would still be in the situation that we're in. And of course, they can't see another year or two out. We wouldn't have another opportunity to pass a bond until 2022. And we really wanted to keep our program going so that we can really provide the upgraded materials and access to science and technology because it is changing so fast. And some of you may know that we were a little behind in Oceanside, and the pandemic has actually helped us speed up our providing student access to technological devices. That is one of the positive things that has come out of this. So by the end of December, we will be one-to-one as far as instructional devices for our students. So then the next really focus needs to be on the classroom spaces. Go ahead and go to the next slide. These were just the feedback that we received from our polling that we did, and we just want to make it clear that no money will be used for administrators, and not just administrators. We're not bad guys, for any salaries at all. It all goes into the facilities. No money for teachers, classified administrators. It all goes into the bond program, and of course there will be an oversight committee. And it will be a new oversight committee. It won't be the one that we're currently using. Okay, go ahead and go forward, Scott. So this is just our campaign and how we'll be contacting people. We have a mailer that went out. Some of you might have received that early this week. We have our signs that, of course, we're putting out. And we did receive endorsement from our Teachers Association, from a couple of other organizations that were very important. And we've started our direct voter contact as well. Teresa Collis, who was on the call, said she was phone banking last night and had some pretty positive reactions from community members. Okay, Scott, you can move forward. Yeah, I think that's it. So I will be happy to take questions on the bond. And Scott, I can also segue into reopening plans, whichever you prefer, if you want me to do it in segments or not.
Yeah, you could segue, and if any questions come up in the chat, I'll bring those up.
Great. So again, this is a very challenging time. I know you're all aware of that, and a very challenging time to run a bond, but it's just critical to the needs of our facilities so that we can keep them in equitable shape for our community. And when you walk our schools, you see that some are definitely better than others. So the equity piece is the real driver for the Board of Education. So as we talk about that, we also talk about reopening our schools. So right now, we have about 200 students that are in our enrichment program, and the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club, along with several of the Boys and Girls Club board members, are on this call. And they are one of our partners that are providing excellent enrichment for our students. And have been since August 24th. So in that sense, our schools are open. For official return to campus, the Board of Education decided on Tuesday that on November 2nd, we'll start bringing back some vulnerable populations. This is about 250 students receiving special education services. And on November 9th, we'll bring back all other K-5 students into a hybrid situation. And they have delayed the return of all 612 students until the new semester, which is January. The real challenge with these schedules is, and the question is, you know, do we want kids in brick and mortar school where they, with our schedules, will actually have less time with their teachers than they do in the hybrid situation. So that's one of the pieces that has been weighing this constant back and forth about this decision making, which just are not easy decisions to make. And of course, providing the layers of safety on our school campuses, which we do have and are improving on a daily basis. So people might be aware that there are other districts that are slowly rolling into opening, and it's smaller districts that have started rolling in, and this is good news, and we want them to successfully do that so that they can show that the bigger districts can successfully roll in as well. Carlsbad has also delayed their 6/12 opening. San Diego Unified currently doesn't have a plan for reopening, and it runs the gamut of the other 42 districts. So that's where we're at, and I'm happy to take questions that people might have on either of those situations.
So we do have a question on what the total dollar value of Prop W is.
It will be $160 million to the district, and we decided we could have gone out for more, but we wanted to be very mindful of what that assessed value would be for the taxpayers. And what that will be for homeowners is $30 per $100,000 assessed value. So that's why we went out for a lower amount than a higher amount to keep that cost to taxpayers down.
Okay. And there's a question also, does the state provide matching dollars to local school bonds?
There are currently no matching dollars at the state level. The state currently does not have a bond program. This is part of the challenge that we have in maintaining and upgrading our facilities.
Okay, and one more question. What percentage or dollar amount of the district budget is allocated to maintenance?
Oh, see, my CBO would have that directly off of her head. I believe, I'll give you a hard number. I believe our required routine maintenance is what it's called. I want to say 6 million. What I can do is I can text her during this phone call and I can put that in the chat because she will have that exact number at her fingertips.
All right.
And that money, I want to be clear, that money is used to maintain our facilities, right? So that money is used to, if we have alarm systems like we had last year that stop working, if we have roofs like we had last year at El Camino that leak, we had major situations of leaking last year, or if we have other maintenance issues like all of our trees and all of our softscape. So that is used just to maintain the facilities. It is not enough money to actually upgrade and modernize. But I'll get that exact number, Scott, and put it in the chat.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Vitale. We appreciate the update and glad you could be with us this morning. So next, I'd like to introduce Jody Diamond, who's the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Oceanside, and she'll be giving us an update on the work that they have done and how they've been supporting our youth. And I do want to mention, though, before Jody starts speaking, that the Boys and Girls Club of Oceanside just received the Nonprofit of the Year award from our Assembly member, Tasha Borna-Horvath. So congratulations, Jody, to you and your team. Jody, it looks like you froze up there. Yep.
Well, I was saying I have an amazing team, so I'm lucky. I'm sorry, having some internet issues. Good morning, everyone. Scott, thank you so much for inviting me to be here and share a little bit about the Boys and Girls Club. I won't assume that everyone knows about the Boys and Girls Club, so I'll give a little bit of background. We've been a strong staple in Oceanside for 68 years. We're a youth development organization serving close to 4,200 youth a year. Pre-COVID, we were serving 1,400 a day across our main clubhouse, and we have 5 school sites with Oceanside Unified School District and Vista Unified School District. Our thrust is that we want every child to receive skills they never would have received had they not entered our doors. And we do this by providing a kaleidoscope of opportunities for youth to find their passion, whatever that may be. In addition, we offer a unique program for developmental disability. Our number of staff fluctuates by the day. It was a 1 to 10 for a while. Now we're up to 1 to 14. So you can see that the needs of staff are greatly increased due to COVID. What we've done since March, we have a very strong relationship with Dr. Vitale and the Oceanside Unified School District. I've been with Boys and Girls Club of Oceanside for 13 years. I'm proud to say that I'm a former classroom educator, and we've worked alongside the school district to better support our youth. Supporting our youth right now is such an understatement, especially as we're seeing the academic achievement gap just widen due to the challenges of this pandemic. We did have to close our physical on March 13th. But we were up and running virtually within days of our closure. Our roads have 100% participation with our roads program, which I'm very proud of. And our youth, I'll talk a little bit for our youth. We started initially in March, a YouTube channel. We wanted to continue to connect with them. Providing them activities throughout the week. I'm able to reach out to all 4,200 youth through various internet and social media platforms. And again, some just old phone calls. And what we heard was really heartbreaking. Our kids told us they were hungry. So my team swung into action and we opened an emergency food program, providing home-cooked meals in our new Center for Innovation Culinary Arts Teaching Kitchen. Pretty fortuitous that we built this commercial kitchen and had it opened a year earlier. You know, I, as well as many others, see this pandemic coming at all. I'm proud to say that we've served over 27,000 meals free to any youth 18 and under. And we couldn't have done this without support, and we're so fortunate to have received initially an emergency funding from Genentech and the Leach Tag Foundation to help support this emergency food program. It's still running today. We opened this food program. It allowed us to actually pilot best practices to be able to open up our club safely. So we were able to bring back all 4 chefs. We had staff that really wanted to come back and help. And that gave us the opportunity to see how can we open safely. And we were able to put a lot of safety measures in place. You've heard all of them, you know, the temperature checks, mandatory masks, the hand washing, social distancing, etc. And so we were able to work out some of those kinks so that we were actually able to open on June 15th for summer camp. We had every safety precaution in place and then some. Nobody entered our building without the measures that I just described. Unfortunately, most times parents come in when they drop their kids off, they see what we're doing, and we really limited the number of people that were able to come into the building. So we were to open for summer camp. At the time, we had only 78 kids at our town site location, which is only 33% of our typical population or capacity. And then we also had a summer camp running at Libby Elementary School that we've had a great partnership for many, many years. again, this gave us an opportunity to see how we could open safely. And we ran 9 weeks of summer camp. Kids wore their masks. It's mandatory. We taught them how to socially distance with pool noodles and you know, a lot of different creative ideas. But it really goes without saying that I have an extraordinary team, which includes both my cabinet and my board. And thankfully, my team, including the board, has always been a glass half full kind of a group, because we could have sat back and said, not possible, too complicated. But instead, by the third week in March, we were already planning for when our doors would open, not if. And one of the things that I really, really love about the people I work with is that there's never a no before the yes. No one in our shoes could have predicted this pandemic. However, instead of just saying, well, you know, we can't because of COVID, we're still saying, how can we? How can we be innovative to make this happen? What does that look like? What do we need to do to make it happen safely? So when school transitioned back into session August 17th, we were able to easily transition to back to school program to again support our youth and Oceanside Unified School District. Currently, we're serving 96 youth at our town site clubhouse. And again, due to social distancing, that's the most that we can serve. We're utilizing every single space possible. We are on 4 OUSD campuses providing enrichment programs, as Dr. Vitale shared. Yes, we have limited the first few days of school. So imagine this, 96 youth, and only 2 kids had the same teacher. So that meant 94 different connections and making sure we were getting them on so that we could best support our youth and make sure that they were connected to their teacher at school. The first days were a little tricky. Certainly, we had a couple challenges, but again, staff stuck with it, kids stuck with it, and you know, we're proud to say that we're really able to support the learning environment for our youth. I think that I'll close by saying I'm certainly honored to have the California Nonprofit of the Year, but really it's because of my team that we were able to have such success in doing this. There's a lot of challenges. I don't want to say that this was easy decision at all. I know I may make it sound like it easy. It's not, it wasn't. There were a lot of hard decisions that were made along the way. But again, looking at it glass half full, as Scott and I were talking a little before people came on, we can say, hey, we can only serve 96 kids at our town site, or we can say, hey, at least we're open and we're able to serve, and we're able to serve in a way that's making huge impact. We have to be really mindful of ensuring that we're supporting a school district, because without that support, these kids are going to just have the achievement gap grow, and we don't want that. So ways that you can get involved, follow us on any of these social media platforms. We are looking, are so great right now that we need more staff. I need about 15 more staff. So if you know any fabulous people that really want to make a huge impact and be a hero, please send them my way. Scott, you're muted.
I was trying so hard not to be that guy. No, I was just saying that although we lost a little bit of your audio during the course of your presentation, we get a great sense of the amazing work that you're doing and why you were recognized by our assembly members. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing. We're going to move on to our legislative reports. Normally Kyle from Congressman Levin's office would go first, but Kyle, I don't see you. I don't see Kyle on the call. Are you there, Kyle, on a phone number? Maybe I don't see. All right. So with that, we'll go to Christopher Marsh, representing our Senator Pat Bates.
Hey, Scott, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think you guys can hear me. Thanks for having me. I want to start off by first commenting on the first presentation that Mayor Weiss and Councilmember Keim gave, and thank the chamber again for their work on this. As you may or may not remember, the senator has authored multiple pieces of legislation to try and fix the issues with Prop 47 and AB 109, specifically trying to reclassify what we believe to be very violent crimes that were taken out of that classification by those propositions and legislations. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten over the finish line, but we always had the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce's support on those bills. So again, I want to thank you for continuing the fight on this issue. It's very critical. And while I cannot comment on Prop 20, I again want to thank the members of the Oceanside Council and the mayor for taking up this fight and continuing it. I want to move on to an issue that is affecting our region, the issue of closure of the theme parks. Senator Bates has met with Legoland officials multiple times and has discussed with them their safety and cleaning protocols to get them in the best position to reopen and to reopen safely. And unfortunately, they're not able to do so. So the senator, along with 17 of her colleagues, again beseeched the governor last week to reevaluate his stance on those closures and sent a letter to the governor on that effect. As you know, Legoland in particular supplies thousands of jobs regionally here in the district, much needed jobs. And we believe that they are in a position to be able to open safely and recreate those jobs, which is critically important to our region. So hopefully the governor will read that and take that seriously, and then we may have a fix there soon. Next, I want to move towards an issue that the senator has been very passionate about for a very long time, and that is the regulation of sober living homes and recovery residencies. Her bill, SB 1144, which require the THCS to take action against unscrupulous recovery residencies. While the bill was not passed, it was absorbed into SB 406, which is a health omnibus bill that was signed by the governor yesterday. So we're very excited that we finally got that issue over the finish line, so that residential dwellings that provide a primary housing for individuals who seek cooperative living arrangements in their recovery for substance abuse will have the assistance they need to make sure that those recovery residences are acting in good faith, which is an issue that is particularly important to the city of Oceanside, where we've had multiple reports of recovery residencies that are not acting in the best interest of both their patients or clients, but also the neighborhoods with which they reside in. So we're looking forward to that bill being implemented, and I will keep you posted as it progresses, but we're really happy that it effectively was signed by the governor yesterday. Moving on, there was a bill or an amendment to a bill that the senator was not able to get across the finish line, but I still want to mention it because it is critically important and it relates to an issue that I know you are all very familiar with, and that is AB5. The senator had offered an amendment before the end of session on Assembly Bill 323, and this amendment would have allowed independent journalists who work for community news organizations to remain as independent contractors, thereby providing a short-term relief to local journalism. As you know, AB5 has been very controversial since its passage, and we believe has negatively impacted businesses and employers. And this amendment would have allowed local journalism to remain healthy, as it's obviously been under threat for a long time. Fortunately, we're not able to get that amendment across the finish line, but we are still fighting to have amendments to AB5 so that employers and employees can continue to thrive within the state of California. So I'll keep you posted. I do believe we're going to when we announce the next set of legislative ideas that we're going to be putting forward, the senator's going to be putting forward, I'm sure that AB5 will be an issue that she is looking at again. Some good news, though. I'll finish with some good news. The senator was able to get the governor to sign one of her bills, SB 934. This bill eliminates the filing fees for nonprofits so they can save money and reduce some of their paperwork, make them more efficient in their uses of state resources. We're very excited about this bill. Nonprofits serve a vital role in our community and within our state. And this little bit of help, we think, will go a long way towards further making sure that nonprofits are able to do the job that they set out to do, to affect positively our community. So with that, I yield the rest of my time unless anybody has any additional questions.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate the update. One of the things that Chris touched on is AB5, and that bill has really been a mess. There's been a lot of attempts at legislative fixes, and Prop 22 that's on the November ballot is a result of AB5, and that is to save the app-based jobs for Uber and Lyft and so on. So that is something that the chamber is supporting. So moving on, I'd like to introduce Fernando Hernandez from our Assembly Member Tasha Borner-Horvath's office.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I would just like to start off again by recognizing the amazing work that the Boys and Girls Club of Oceanside has been doing during this pandemic. They've really gone above and beyond just to serve the communities in Oceanside, especially our underserved youth. You know, as Jody mentioned, you know, she has a phenomenal team. Her and her team have been, you know, greatly serving our youth. We've had the pleasure of going to a couple of their meal distributions, and you can easily see the passion you know, that they display day in and day out when, you know, interacting with our youth and assisting them. You know, one of the greatest concerns is the possible widening of the achievement gap with this pandemic, but they are doing, you know, everything they can to contribute in ensuring that our kids don't fall behind. So again, Jody, thank you very much for your work. Moving on to our legislative update, the Assembly member had 3 bills signed by Governor Gavin Newsom. The first one, which I am very proud of, is her AB 1731, her work share bill, which essentially streamlines the state's work share process, kind of creates it in a way where the process for small businesses to get work share is lessened. So instead of, you know, waiting, you know, a couple weeks to hear back, the process is now that once a business submits a work share application, the EDD would approve it within 1 or 2 days, and then the small business would then receive the certification forms for each individual employee on an online portal, which makes it a lot easier instead of waiting for snail mail to arrive and for them to, you know, send it back through snail mail. So this process is really gonna, you know, streamline it and help our small businesses prevent, you know, layoffs, keeping employees on the payroll, and ensuring that people are able to maintain their jobs. Next, I'd like to highlight AB 1927, which establishes an amnesty clause that encourages victims and witnesses of sexual assault to testify in court, and, you know, prevents them from fearing being prosecuted for unrelated drug or alcohol charges. So this is really going to help a lot of sexual assault victims and people that, you know, would otherwise be reluctant to seek justice from going and doing that now. So we're very proud of that bill as well. And lastly, I'd like to share, Governor also signed her AB 1426, which codifies an agreement between multiple parties with the conflict of the San Onofre State Beach. This is a world-class surfing spot. This was actually a very popular bill in our district. A lot of people were happy to see this pass for protecting this state park for generations to come. It shows the Assembly members' commitment in protecting our open space and ensuring that the communities in our district have that space available to enjoy. And that's all I have for this. One thing I'd like to flag for everyone, the Assembly member will also be recognizing members of our military community for the outstanding work they've been doing in our community during this pandemic. We'll be having a nomination form come out shortly. It will be on our website, and I'll share that with the chamber So you guys are aware when that's available. If you'd like to nominate an amazing active duty service member or veteran who has done a lot of work to impact the lives of others in the military community or just your ordinary citizen, we'd be happy to consider them for these honors. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. We appreciate the update, and congrats on the passage of AB 1731. And as you know, the chambers in North County were on board as supporting that, so thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Crystal Jabara from our County Supervisor Jim Desmond's office.
Good morning, Oceanside, and thank you, Scott, for allowing us time to speak, and thank you for the hard work that you've been doing. Along with all the other Main Street Oceanside Boys and Girls Club, just doing an incredible job supporting our businesses and our students during this difficult time, so thank you. Of course, a lot going on with COVID. We have our new colored tiered system coming down from the state of California. San Diego is in the red tier. We are hoping to quickly move out of the red tier into the, I think it's orange and then yellow, trying to keep my colors straight. And I know there's a lot of confusion, so if anyone ever kind of wants to understand the math that goes behind the tier, how you rank in the tiers, a lot of it, most of it has to do with how many tests are being issued, and then we're compared against the other counties, and we don't find out those numbers until Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning, to find out how we're measuring up. So you either get bonus points for more tests than most of the counties, or you get points taken away for not testing enough compared to the other counties, but we never know what metric we're being measured against until the numbers come out. So it's an interesting formula, and then that, along with positive rates, seem to be the main criteria to get you into the tiers. We would like to, our office, Supervisor Dasmond, would like to continue to keep a focus on hospitalizations and making sure that that is still a priority, which is where we began. So we're working closely with all of our medical professionals to make sure that that's being preserved as we start to open up businesses. So along with that, along with what's going on with County Health and Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Dasmond has been working with other area local elected officials, so Orange County, Riverside County, to name a couple. And they have a movement that was started by another organization called Open Cal Now. So I'll put that into the chat. And that's a platform for businesses to be able to sign up to send information up to the governor on letting businesses reopen with the safety plans that are being implemented in larger organizations like a Walmart or a Costco, saying our smaller businesses can adhere to those same kinds of standards. So let us open up with safety measures in place. So I'm going to put that in the chat. If you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me. With the last Board of Supervisors meetings, the supervisors voted, as I said earlier, to support Proposition 20 and to oppose Proposition 15. So those are actions that were taken by the Board of Supervisors at our last meeting. They also, Supervisor Dasmond also introduced an item to replace all the drinking fountains at county facilities with water bottle refilling stations. So we're hoping to reduce some of our plastic waste and encourage those who, most of us now carry around refillable water bottles. So a non-COVID item. We also, the supervisors approved, or Supervisor Dasmond approved his $4.1 million in grant money that's going out to businesses in the District 5. So all $4.1 million was awarded at that board meeting, and businesses should be receiving from our Office of Financial Planning the forms that they need to fill out to get their money. There's a very short window to have your forms returned. So if anyone's struggling with that, go ahead and reach out to our office, or if you have not been notified and you know you were on that list, let me know. We want to make sure those forms are signed back to the Office of Financial Planning so you can get your money and spend it by the end of the year. And then Trying to think. Oh, we are continuing to focus on our crisis stabilization units, one in Oceanside, one in Vista, and a family justice center in San Marcos, which will be kind of an all-encompassing center for people affected by violent crime and needing to be removed from the situation they're in, and how to get resources, and then also receive treatment if necessary. So we're continuing on all those focuses. Any questions, just let me know or reach out to our office anytime.
Crystal, just one question. I know a couple weeks ago we were in danger of moving from the red to the worst level, which was purple. Are we pretty solidly in the red level, moving closer to orange now?
We're solidly in the red. Our numbers that keep up, so 7% is the trigger to move you into purple. When we were on the edge, our numbers came out as 6.9. We did not know that until the last minute because of the metrics coming down from the state on testing. We've moved from 6.9, 6.8, 6.7. So we watch those daily numbers. So right now we're securely in the red. I don't know if we're going to make it into the orange at this point. We have to wait for those state numbers to come out once a week, usually Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning.
Okay. One other quick question. There was an article in the San Diego Union Tribune that the county is opening up a loan program that was originally just for the unincorporated areas. Is there a loan application on the county website?
You know what, they approved that at the last meeting. So they had a loan program, a low interest rate loan program that was for just unincorporated areas. It was $5 million. Only $1 million of that was utilized, which is kind of good and bad. Makes me a little nervous that businesses are afraid to take loan programs because they're worried about their ability to repay. But now that is opened up by a vote of the supervisors to all of San Diego County. I do not believe they have activated the new link for the loan program, but I will get that. I will make sure that you get that, Scott, and can blast that out to all your community members. There'll still be a priority on unincorporated businesses, but like I said, there's still $4 million. It's a very low interest rate loan, so it's good for people who need just a little bit extra to help get them through, or want to use it to implement some safety measures to get their businesses reopened. So I'll get that to you, Scott.
All right. Thank you so much, Crystal. We appreciate the update. I do want to remind everybody that there is some pretty valuable information in the chat box. So the 3 little dots right next to file, if you click that, you can save the chat and be able to refer back to it. So and Dr. Vitale did put a comment in there that the numbers that she gave earlier were correct regarding routine maintenance being at $6 million. So our next meeting will be on November 5th, and we will get information and more details out about that very soon. But I do want to thank all of you for joining us this morning, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.